Craig A.E. Russell go bhfuil an chuacht chéine in sna réalta is mó san olcrinne, agus atá in san rud is lú dá bhfuil a gine, grainnín ganamh mar hampla, agus dá ninseaching díomh gur bonan an Gaeilge an chruinne fad, agus an Gaeilge atá jóor druachta, agus an tearma atá an na crunne. A.E. Russell believed that the smallest item that we have on this planet contain the same force, the same power as the greatest, the mightiest stars in the universe. And we have a term in Irish for a dewdrop, crunne, which is also the same word that means the universe, crunne. It really is a round thing. Agus a chairde mar a bhí muid rá, as we've been saying and as we've heard from the Indigenous people in the film last night that Rita Davern put together, which was very powerful, and that Ramona Kitto Stately described for us here today. I think that when A.E. Russell needed healing, and he did need healing, he needed healing away from the grind of his work as a bookkeeper in Pym's Brothers, even though they were very good employees and he learned skills that would prove to be important later, and they were Quakers, good people. He needed healing, and he retreated to nature to plug in to the healing properties of nature. And we all can do that. We know that we can do it. How often do we do it? That's a different question. We all know that meditation is really, really good for us. We feel cleansed after spending some time meditating. But how often do we set aside the time to do it? There are always other distractions, and some of those distractions are really, really important. And sticking with the idea of meditation and building on what I said last night, what Patrick mentioned today, A.E. Russell was fascinated for a protracted period of time about the inner territory, which I believe that he thought was even vaster than the external territory. And for A.E., healing certainly was physical and individual, and nature played a vital role in that, but also he looked to heal society. He looked to small rural villages where he saw multiple pubs, public houses, and no libraries. And he felt that that should be healed, rectified. And he also looked at economy, and he saw that the few were living extravagant lifestyles off the backs of the many, and that something could be done about that too, that the people could set about centralizing their own approach, their own resources, their own products from the farm, and out of that notion, the co-op movement developed, and it's now a worldwide enterprise. And Ireland was one of the countries that was to the fore. And as Patrick indicated, when AE travelled to the United States of America, one of his main messages was that notion that people could work together in co-ops. So even at the very end, which is indeed a form of healing, where we return to the land that has sustained us, in AE's case, it was a beautiful death. And in my own life, I have witnessed difficult, painful deaths in family members. And I've also witnessed passings that were described as beautiful and peaceful and ready to go. And in our society, in Ireland, we're all only a few generations from the land. And for a long time in our communities, we did not run to the doctor. The doctor was phoned when people were on their last legs, when there was no other recourse for healing. And it is said that there was a cure in every parish in Ireland, over 3,000 parishes. It is also claimed that every townland in Ireland had a cure, and so that would be 60,000 cures, but they're the same cures in different townlands. And one of the greatest gifts that our country gave to the world's wisdom was definitely the Bailiachan na Scoil, the schools collection, which is held by the Folklore Commission. And what happened there was that 50,000 children went and asked their elders, their grandparents, and other people in their neighbouring parishes to tell about folk wisdom. And even though folk medicine was not a category given to the children, many folk cures came back in, hundreds of them. So we have 750,000 pages in our folklore schools collection, and a lot of them dealt with cures. And to bring it back to today and what cures and folk medicine looks like, in my own experience, I lived until the age of about 53, 54, at which point I developed some sort of an allergy to either dust or pollen. I'm not sure. Something was triggering sinus issues. And before that, if people said to me they had hay fever, what I would have thought was, what are you annoying me about? Clear off, don't come near me. But when I got it, it was a big thing, and it was spoiling, barbecues, for example. The one day in the year you could have a barbecue in this country, You know, I found myself at meetings and experiencing the symptoms of hay fever. And I went to down to earth on Great George Street, right across from where A.E. Russell worked in Pimm's. And they told me that I should take quercetin, which seems to be the yellowy colour in flowers. It's a natural product. And I did take that, and it took a number of months, but I can happily report that I no longer have any of those symptoms. Whatever was triggering that, it has completely disappeared from only natural ingredients, and I was very happy about that. I also had a serious tooth, and it was nearly as bad as man flu, but I had a really bad tooth situation going on, and you know, I was taking painkillers, but they really were not getting to that particular, and it was like a very sharp darning needle being stabbed into a nerve up there. And do you know something? I was advised to get a bread poultice, as we used to say, a white bread poultice, which I did apply to that affected area. And I'm telling you, it for whatever, it seems to extract the acid that is affecting the nerve, and it also worked and gave me comfort. Another gentleman who worked here in Éanach, he came from a very scientific background, a legal background, and his mother had the cure for the toothache. And he didn't really believe in any of that nonsense. But he was working late, somewhere near here, not in here, but somewhere near here, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, he could no longer stick this toothache that he had. And it was then that he remembered that his mother had the cure for the toothache. And he phoned up his mother, a lady who I taught Irish, a lovely lady, and she gave her legal-minded son the cure over the phone, and it worked. My own father had a coronary emergency, and he was brought to the Royal Victoria Hospital, and the medics worked miracles. And all the faith healers and the people with cures will always tell their visitors to go and see their conventional doctors. They will never say that what they do is more important, and that's significant. But shortly after that episode, myself and my mother were in speaking with the consultant, and he took the x-rays and he put them up on, you know, the lighty background, and he showed the dark areas of my father's heart, and he said, well, that shading, that's the damage, and that's not coming back. And he was matter of fact and scientific, and he said, only 1 in 4 people with your father's condition leave the hospital. And my brother got the Padre Pio mitten, and it was brought in to my father, and a couple of days after, the same X-ray experience was in front of my mother. I wasn't there for the second, but the shading had completely disappeared. And my father went on to have decades of life after that. And, you know, I'm giving those real examples to let you know, and I know that you all know this, that there is a folk wisdom. A lot of it is herbal, and some of it relates to faith. And sometimes when it's difficult to get an appointment with a doctor, it's easier to go and see somebody near or not so near who has a cure. And drawing to a conclusion from what I'm going to say, and at that point when I stop, we're going to do a little healing ceremony, and then we're going to ask you to share your experiences of non-conventional healing, because that is our theme. When I was a younger man, I was in Amsterdam for a long weekend, and I was overindulging to such an extent that I felt wretched early next week, the following week, and I really felt miserable. And I was working also, and I was going round houses in the Gaeltacht area, and I called into a lady, and she was boiling a special seaweed called sloch, and in English, slook, which is one of the main ingredients in laver bread. And she gave me a small potion made, boiled up, and other ingredients, I imagine, of this sloch seaweed, which I took on board. And I am telling you the God's honest truth that inside 30 seconds, I experienced an inner hygiene that was remarkable. And the good news for each and every one of you is that Donna from Cafe Waha has made 30 potions with Armagh Bramley apple juice and the very dried seaweed. So if I could invite you all to get up, go over and take your shot, and then return to your seats, and we'll hear your stories. Guracade Maigov. Yeah.
We'll put a sign-up sheet for the bathroom at the door.